I always felt much more at ease in a quantitative field, and somehow econometrics. I always found it to be the most quantitative of all the fields within econ. So I do econometrics, and I try to do both theoretical as well as applied work in econometrics. Some of the things that I've been working on in theoretical econometrics deal with the ability of researchers to so-called identify an economic model. So what does that mean? It means essentially that the model is going to make some predictions. It's going to imply certain restrictions on the data. And what you would like to be able to do is, having observed the data, you would like to be able to go back and infer what the parameters of the model were that generated that data. The outcome of that research is to provide some conditions for researchers in other areas of economics, like micro or macro, provide them with the set of criteria that they can check in order to say if their models are identified or not. A lot of the material that we actually teach in graduate courses is the material that we also use in our own research, so we can approach it with a very different viewpoint. We can say, well, this is what the standard theory tells you, but I can also tell you, when I try to implement it by relaxing these assumptions, this is really very fragile and it doesn't work. So I guess what I really like about graduate teaching is you actually get to incorporate a lot of your personal observations from your own research into teaching. And I think the students really appreciate that. They're sufficiently intellectually mature to say, well, I do want to know also how things don't work. I'm not just interested in learning, theories that are printed in textbooks. I actually want to learn about things that maybe people are struggling with, things that don't work, things which have some open questions attached to them. Be maybe more courageous about approaching professors and talking to them about your own ideas or about questions that you have. It's good to do a little bit of self-censoring. I mean, if you cannot even explain to yourself what is your question that you have, well, okay, think about it a little bit more. But then once you actually have a formulated question, don't engage in too much self-censoring. Go and ask your professors, go and ask your mentors, and let them give you the feedback. And maybe you'll be surprised. Maybe they'll say something like, oh, this is very interesting. I haven't thought about that. You should, dig deeper. The very nice feature of the Georgetown PhD program is that it's an ideally sized program where students can get a lot of individual attention. And then the other thing I would like to emphasize is that we are in DC. We are really surrounded by all of these economists outside of the econ department. I mean, we have a number of former students, PhD students who now work at the Federal Reserve Board. There's the World Bank, there's IMF, there are all of these organizations that sort of do research in economics.